This was done in collaboration, I think, with his board.
Oh.
Oh, well, hello there. We actually were here like 5 minutes early and we had time to be prepared, and then we do the beginning just the same, where it's like a shock and a surprise.
I was checking to see how much time there was left on the countdown, and it said 0.
Well, we're here, and we're glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us on another Pop Live. Happy Tuesday. I'm wearing this god-awful, gaudy shirt just because I have no other excuse to ever wear this thing. My friend, our friend, young Matt Chong, gave this to me as a gag gift. I don't know if it was for Christmas or what, but it features the popular WWE Attitude Era wrestlers D-Generation X on here. And it's just the ugliest shirt I've ever seen. The joke is that he just loves DX, and I think it's so silly that he, is so passionately in love with this goofy team. And so as a joke, he bought this terrible shirt for me. So I thought, why not wear it to Pop Live? Because you guys don't care what I wear. So here it is. Funny shirt day. We're going to be talking about the differences between whether you should be posting Instagram or Facebook stories versus Instagram or Facebook posts. Because most of the nonprofits we talk to, like, their biggest like pain point is how to use or properly use social media. Does my breath stink again? Like what? No. Oh, yeah. The recoil gave me like flashbacks of last week when
My tummy is funny.
That's okay. I made sure not to eat raw onions this week.
Thank you.
But yeah, so one of the easiest questions is, one, what's the difference between posts and stories? Because everyone sees stories and posts, but they don't understand, like, why do you have two different kinds of things, and when is it appropriate to use that and whatnot? So especially for nonprofits, it could be a really useful tool, especially understanding what's appropriate for posts and stories. So first of all, let's talk about what are posts and what are stories. What's the difference between the two?
And just show it on your phone.
Okay. So we'll just go with Instagram, because Instagram and Facebook are the same as far as how they use and define stories and posts. And the like tips that we're going to provide today apply to both. So
I'm going to move the mic. So these are, is it working? Oh, hide your face.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bright. Sorry. So those are the stories at the top, and then that's the post at the bottom. So the stories, it's awful. It's so bright. I don't want to show a personal one. Here, I'll show. Where do I show?
How about Frolic?
Okay. So, focus.
There you go.
Okay. So that's their story. So you click on it, and then it just tap on it, and it scrolls through.
And just so you know, it may seem bright on there, but on here, it looks fine. So I think it's not too bad. It looked pretty good on the monitor.
Okay.
So the differences between posts and stories. Stories are meant to be up for 24 hours. After 24 hours of being on there, it's gone. So they're not to be permanent. There's also some flexibility with what kind, like how you post things. It could be photos, it could be videos, it could be boomerangs and clips, which you can still do with posts, but this one fills out the whole screen, as you saw, versus posts, you scroll up and it takes up, like, I don't know, 2/3 of your screen. And I don't know, maybe you can talk more to this, but my understanding of it was that like stories is like you're allowed to just put up, constant content on there because you're telling people, your story, which could be, whatever you do or think about in the day, and it not spam their entire feed, which is kind of like precious space. Like you're going through that to scroll through and keep updated with the people you follow. And if it's just full of like 13 posts of me going through my day of what I'm eating, it's like, oh gosh, too much. But with with stories, you as the viewer can choose to look at every single story, or you can skip on and just be, okay, I get the idea. I'm kind of tired about hearing about what Nolan had for lunch and dinner and breakfast. So I'm just going to move on to the next person I'm following and see what their stories are. So that's kind of, it gives less headache, I think, for people who are following.
It's less annoying.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything more to share as far as posts go? Those are permanent. And when you go to your profile, like if someone's like looking at your organization's page for the first time and they want to learn more about you, they can go through your history of posts and see all of these posts that were permanent and get a really good idea of, what kind of content you share, what's important to you. There might be important informational posts that they can read the captions and stuff.
They call it the grid.
Why do they call it the grid?
Because it looks like a grid. So on your Instagram profile, when you go to the Instagram profile and then you scroll down and you see all of your old posts, that's what they refer to as the grid. And you want to be mindful of what is on your grid, so that when somebody's visiting it and they click on it, then it's not like a bunch of spam.
Yeah, because think about it like how you treat your Instagram and Facebook profile is kind of like your website. Because people nowadays are going to learn more about your organization by checking out your social media versus I think nowadays you're more likely probably to, maybe not more likely, but it's a high chance, a probability that people will check out your social media before your website. That's what I do.
I do that.
Mm-hmm. And so if you're looking at someone's Instagram page to get a better idea of who they are, if their content is relevant to me or interesting to me or of use to me, and I see in that grid like it's all just this is a bad example, but like if I saw someone who I wanted to follow and then all they ever posted were like those pictures of like sunsets and inspirational quotes on them, like I'd be like, gosh, this would serve me no purpose. Like I would be not entertained by it. I want to know more about that person or that organization. So I would like to see more posts about them. So just be mindful of, as an organization, what you're putting in there. This is kind of like your Tinder profile. You gotta put your best foot forward. Maybe not Tinder, but something where people are going to decide whether they want to follow you or not. A lot of it will be based on what's in your grid. Yeah. So with that being said, the $1 million question that everybody's wondering is like, so when do you post it as a post or when do you put it up as a story? Like, why do you have one or the other? So I'll let you answer that.
I think stories give you more flexibility as far as being fun. Like as an organization, you might not want something totally silly or goofy, like say you're, I can't think of an example. Say you guys decide to have a chair race around your office, which is something that our office did before
when we worked in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Not our office.
No, not
It'd
our
be a
off-
two-man race.
Yeah, that'd be a terrible race. I would lose so badly. But so say you're gonna have a chair race. That would be great for your stories. And you could just post like a bunch of, you could post each person going around and like all kinds of stuff, and it's fun, and it'd probably be entertaining for anybody that was scrolling through their stories. But that probably would not be something for your feed because it's not relevant to your organization really.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, well, why would it be relevant on stories? It, like, aside from it being entertaining, it also shows there's personality and life in your office or in your organization. So there's value to that. It's not just like,
Makes you likable.
yeah, exactly. So as far as posts go, then why would you want to post something versus putting it on stories?
I think if something's like super valuable, like say you got great pictures at an event of some of your consumers, or like lots of happy faces, and it's stuff that you want to, it's very valuable for your storytelling of your brand, and you want it to be there always.
And then also too, like if it's information that you think needs to be referenced, like I don't know, when sometimes there's been posts like, here's really important information on a program that we have, or resources or something like that people are sharing and things like that. It's, if you want people to know that you are a resource for information or something, if that's important to you and your followers, that'd be great. Because like, for instance, like there's some organizations that I've seen where like for mental health, and they always would put posts on different things you could do, or different like suggestions of self-help and all these kind of things. Like, these are really great resources of knowledge and suggestions. And to be able to look at their grid and see like, oh, that's really cool, let me go and read that and open it up, that has long shelf life right there. So yeah, so as far as suggestions on, I know we used two examples of post and story, but I've always been asked, like, so how do you know for sure, like, what you should post and what you shouldn't, or what you should post and what you should put as a story? Because a friend of mine was like, I have so much content, and sometimes I think it should be a post, but I don't know. And is there any kind of like maybe a checklist that could help someone think of referencing to determine if it's a post worthy or story worthy content?
A checklist?
Like a mental checklist, like is like a question, maybe a list of questions that could help you answer to determine if it's worthy of a post or a story.
Do you have something? I don't know.
Well, I would guess that it would be something that the first question I would ask is something that needs to be accessible more than 24 hours. Like, is this evergreen? Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then it should be a post.
I think, how thoughtful is it? Like, if you have something thoughtful and worthwhile to make a long caption about, because a long caption is not that well suited for a story. So that could be better as a post.
Yeah, a lot of the times nonprofits have like a lot to say about something because there's a really great story behind it, or explanation behind it. And you can't really do that on a story, because when you write captions on your stories, it's going to be on the screen, and it's just going to fill up the majority of the screen if it's long, where then you can't see the photo or the video. And then with posts, the captions under the video or photo, so you can make it as long as you want and stuff. And you can stay on it as a reader and read it, whereas the stories, unless you hold your thumb down on the screen, it's going to move on after like 6 seconds. So that's kind of annoying when I have to hold it and like look at all the things that I'm reading.
And then if your finger covers up something, you have to like
Oh, yeah.
slide your finger.
And then it'll pull up something like, oh, you want to say something? No, I don't want to say anything. And that's the other thing too, is if you want to encourage conversation in the comments, then posts are the way to go. Because if your post incites like conversation or thoughtfulness and things like that, the only way to do that is through putting it as a post. Because if anyone makes a comment on your story, only you will see it. Nobody
But I
else see
feel
it.
like that's true for like community kind of stuff where you want like everybody to see. But I feel like I get more comment reactions on stories. Like as a post, people might just like it, but then as a story, they might write like a word or something.
So it just depends, I guess, what you want out of it. Like if you want personal engagement with your audience, stories may get you that more successfully. But if you just want to create engagement amongst your followers, where they can write a comment and others can comment off of that, or it inspires conversation, then post is the way to do that, because that's the only way for them to see what others are writing and things. So
I think it's a good idea to do both, because with stories, I'm not positive, but it seems like it's chronological. Like when you post a new story, it'll move your little icon to the front of the line that people see at the top. So I think it's kind of I'm not positive, but I think it avoids the algorithm in that way, because it's still chronological. It's not based on how much they interact with your account or like all the other things that Facebook and Instagram, the ways that they prioritize what people see on their feeds. Mm-hmm. So when you're posting stories, you move to the front, and they're more likely to just see you if they're deciding like, oh, I feel like scrolling through stories, and they just tap on it. So, and then by seeing more of you there, then maybe, I don't know how the algorithm works, but maybe they'll start seeing your posts more if they interact with you on stories.
yeah, and of course, if that is how it works, that the algorithm could change tomorrow. So.
Yeah. But it's just a way to get interaction and get them to see your stuff.
Yeah, but that begs on the question, which I think we've talked about this before, but for those who hadn't heard us talk about this before, can you explain what we know right now, at least the algorithm, what you mean by algorithm as far as when Facebook or Instagram, how they prioritize posts in people's feeds?
So they have lots of rules that change all the time, and but they want people to see stuff that you're going there to see. That's their theory. They want to keep it useful or personal. What was that?
Sorry. That
What
was
are you
me.
doing?
I was just checking to see if it's working or not.
So that's why, like, you might have like 2,000 followers, but only your reach is like 100, because only those 100 people have like lingered on your post, or they react or comment when you post. So that's how Facebook and Instagram know that they're interested in your content. So that gives you more priority on those specific people's feeds. Or there's lots of things that they look at, like they'll not grade Yolani, you get like more priority if like when you post it, if it gets a lot of reactions and comments pretty quickly, then it'll show your post to more people. So it is junk to like post something at like 1 a.m. and nobody's gonna see it, just because the algorithm's gonna think that your post sucked.
But this is why people mistakenly before in the past thought like, oh, I got to keep posting a lot and often so that I get to the top of people's feeds. But as Jamie's explaining, that's not the case. You're probably showing up less on people's feeds because you're screwing up, how the algorithm rates things. But as far as stories go, from what I agree based on what I've seen. I don't know this to be fact, but I believe that stories are a different case where it's just whoever had posted the most recent story, they're first in line. And it's just their collection of stories. It's not like your story, Jamie's story, Nolan's story, Jamie's story again, Nolan's story. Like it doesn't go like by story. It's just the collection of stories. So,
but that doesn't mean that you should be constantly posting stories
just for the sake
just
of
to get to the front of the line.
Yeah, you still.
Then you're gonna get muted.
Yeah, because then what followers can do is they can still follow you, but they'll just mute you, meaning that they'll never see or be notified of any of your posts ever again. Which
I mute people
do.
a lot.
Yeah,
I mute like everybody.
Especially those who abuse
Yeah.
stories, where it's just such an annoying thing. Where
like on the top, you just see dots instead of like lines.
Oh, that is the worst.
Yeah.
Yes. So what she means by dots is here. Let's see.
I show it.
So when you see someone post a series of stories, they'll see little bars across the top to notate how many stories are in that person's collection at the time. So if you have a bunch of stories just back to back, you're just going to see tiny little dots all across the top of the screen because that's showing how many posts or stories are still coming up.
Can you see this one? So Juicy Brew only has three bars up there.
So that's
that
three
means
stories.
they have 3 stories, which is very doable.
Yeah.
If it was just little periods, then I would mute them.
Let me see if I might follow somebody that does that I'm ready to mute.
Oh my God.
Who?
But I think there's lots of like things not to do. Well, it might just be like pet peeves for me. But I'm just going to say it, even though lots of people do it. And I think we've also done this in the past. But I don't like it when people post a story that says new post, like alerting you that they have a new post. What do you think about those?
Yeah, because then I'm already following them, so I'll see the post anyway.
Yeah. Like I don't like duplicate content.
Yeah. So here's an example of tiny dots.
Oh.
So see how many dots are at the top? That's how many different stories
I can't even
they're
tell that
posting.
there's dots. Oh, there.
Yeah, see how many?
Oh.
I am not going to go through every single one of these.
That's too much.
That's too much of my time, people, and I don't got much of it. But yeah, so, I think the reason why people would do that new post thing is there was a belief in for a while, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that the younger generation only goes through stories. They don't actually go through the feeds. So to make sure that that generation saw the feed, the post in the feed, and the reason why they would want them to see it in the feed is because then they have their captions that they could tell a lot more information and guide them somewhere else. So that's why they would do the new post, and so that the younger person who never looks at their feed goes, "Ooh, I'm gonna go check out Jamie's new post," and then look at it. But for us who look at both, and for normal people,
But I would say, so this is just based on my experience with the small amount of young people that I follow that follow me on Instagram, which is like my nephews and like my kids' soccer teammates and stuff. They're real young, but I feel like those kids like my posts, my regular posts, just as often as like adults do. And my guess that I just thought of just now as you're talking, I think they have less in their feed because all the people their age only post stories.
That's a good point.
So when they scroll, they're more likely to see my post because all the people that they follow only do stories.
Yeah, so maybe the tides pushed them in that direction where
Yeah.
and that's the thing is social media is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about how the algorithms could change. Like even people's tendencies change all the time. Like I hated stories when it first came
Yeah.
out, and I was so resistant to either looking at them or posting them. I still don't love them much, but I will consistently still go through them. And I noticed that for many of the people that I follow, their stories tend to be more entertaining than the posts that they
Yeah.
make. But I really enjoy posts more because I'm old.
I just started getting into stories like within the last month, I think.
I would say that I've been posting more stories. I don't know, in the last year maybe. But recently, all of the stories that I've posted have given me a lot of like messages and things like that, which I'd never gotten before. So I don't know if it's just because my content is better or if it's people's what is that thing called? Tendencies or I don't know, preferences have changed.
I think it's just like there's more of a sense of freedom with a story because you know it's not gonna be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say more stupid stuff or like just not care that much about what you're like. I did a whole night of things about a cockroach.
Oh yeah.
And I would not have I wouldn't have put that on my feed just because I don't want to see a cockroach that much.
Yeah. And to tell this, because what it was like a chronological accounting of her
War
with a cockroach. So over the span of like a couple
flying
hours.
one.
Like,
No, it was like, well, yeah, it was maybe like 3 hours.
but if I were to see on a post, like multiple posts about this, I would be kind of irritated. Or if it
Yeah.
were like one of those posts with multiple pictures, I would have to read the whole story and try to follow the pictures in
Yeah.
in chronological order, and it just
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
work as
true.
well for me. So by having it in the stories, it's like, ooh, and then what? What next? You know, and it just naturally sends you to the next thing. So
And
that's a
there
good
was a
example.
lot of like in the end, I think I had a lot. It wasn't dots at the top, but there were a lot of posts. But I had a lot of people that watched the whole thing. So something that like one of the Instagram people that I follow was saying was that telling an actual story, like going through an experience and posting stories as you go through it. Like start from the beginning and tell the story all the way and make sure you have an end so that you don't leave people hanging. But that works really well on stories because people stay with you. And that was true for my cockroach.
Yeah, I've had the most fun posting stories when it was something like that. Like I
Yeah.
had my Home Alone story,
Yeah.
and my my angry post or story about being duped by 7-Eleven, thinking that they had a grape Slurpee, and it turned out to be ube. And I was doing the slow reveal of
Oh yeah.
all the emotions I was feeling based on what I was seeing at first, and everyone was going like, "What happened? What flavor was it? Oh, those bastards!" But anyways, as far as it pertains to nonprofits like yourself, this is, I hope it helps explain a little bit about the relevance of when it's appropriate to do posts versus stories, because they're two very different vehicles. Both will be more useful to you depending on the type of fuel you have or content that you have, or what kind of results or reactions you want from your audience, and then what kind of things your audience wants from you. Because like I said, there are some organizations that have really just great resources, information, and inspiration. And that's why I look through their posts, just because it's something that is useful to me. But you may be an organization that people just want to keep knowing what what you're doing in the community, or get to better understand the personality of your organization. And how do you show that? And again, that knowing now what's appropriate for posts and feed and stories can help you determine where you put those things. Do you have any other thoughts or suggestions as it pertains to this? It's hard because I'll admit, like, even as I'm talking about it, I can imagine there's still plenty of people who are like, okay, I understand how it works, but I still don't know when I should post a story or post. And that's how I was at first, because she was the one who was kind of teaching me the rules about it, explaining the algorithms and all that stuff. But it took me a little while to figure it out and get used to it. I think, to me, the way I learned it and got most comfortable with it, understanding, is just being a part of it. Like looking at people's stories, thinking about what I like and what annoys me, and and makes me want to mute people. If that's the case, that's a great example of what not to do.
I feel like you're gonna hit your drink and it's gonna spill.
Oh,
Could you move it over there?
Well, as long as you weren't feeling like saying, I feel like you're telling people the wrong thing.
Oh.
And that's what I was worried you were going to do.
So that Instagram person that I was learning story stuff before, and this was like maybe a year or more ago, but she was saying, like, she's all about not posting posts in the moment, and then you take the pictures, write the captions, and schedule it for later. So it's intentional captions, intentional pictures. So her thing was that your grid is all very intentional. It's planned out and scheduled, and long captions, thoughtful captions. And then she uses stories as like in the moment stuff. So like she'll be in her grid, she's all like made up, mostly professional photos, like nice coloring and all of that. In her stories, she's got no makeup on, and she's like, oh my God, my kid just threw up on me. So so it's a very different feel. You're not going to do that for your organization, but I think just more in the moment. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've seen that this specific person. Personally, I don't like all of it being like done up and
Yeah.
like it seemed very
Fake.
to me.
That's not good for a nonprofit either.
Yeah, so I wouldn't take what this person does and emulate that for a nonprofit.
For the grid.
But
I think as far as the photos, but like for the intentional captions,
correct,
thoughtful.
That is still, I think, relevant and a great strategy to take, where that can help you determine stories versus posts. Like, can you give a thoughtful, intentional caption to this? If so, that would be a good grid or post. If this is just something like in the day, in the life, or a quick thought or whatnot, then that would be a story.
Yeah. And I think even like if you wanted to do like how you were talking earlier about if you saw a grid that was all sunsets and inspirational quotes, that would be yucky. But I think like as a nonprofit, if you wanted to do like intention of the day or something like that, that could be in a story, because I'm more forgiving of those quote things in stories than I am on my feed.
Oh, also something that I've seen a lot of with nonprofits is like if they have an event or something where they're getting multiple sponsors or donors, and they just keep posting a new post, like, oh, want to thank this donor, want to thank this sponsor, and they put it in their feed.
Blech.
Oh man, it's kind of, and then also you look at the grid and it's just all these thank you posts. This will be another great example of what you could use stories for instead, because you're still able to tag them and give them their recognition. By tagging them, they also see that you posted about them in stories, but then now they can also share it to their followers. And a lot of them want to do it because they want to show that they are affiliated and connected in support of your organization. And so it still has great value to you, but again, because it's in stories, people are much more forgiving of it, and they have a little more freedom to be like, okay, a lot of people are supporting you guys. Cool.
And you can also save that as a highlight. Like, say it's sponsors for an event and you're thanking them as you lead up to the event. So save all those different stories as a highlight on your profile, and so it can stay there until your event happens.
So highlights are, if you go to your profile page.
It's so awful. It looks terrible.
Oh, well. Anyways.
Because it's too bright.
Yeah, mine's too bright. Anyways, right above your grid are these little circles. That's where you can put your highlights. And basically,
Here, try mine. Oh, it's too bright too.
yeah.
There.
Anyways, this is where you can save a collection of your stories forever. So that way, like for instance, I have a highlight here of a trip that I took to Vegas. And so all of the stories that I had made during this week-long trip, I saved them into this little highlight so that all week long's stories are staying there. So if anyone who was like, oh, I would be so interested in learning about Nolan's trip to Vegas, and they click on that, they can see all of it. In fact, my Home Alone stories is in here. So if you...
But you can also delete it after it's not relevant anymore.
I have some great highlights on here.
Oh my God.
That's my bottle clip highlights. Okay.
So like another use for highlights, like one of our clients that we work with, I made a highlight of posted a bunch of stories about how to donate to their center, and then save that as a highlight so that at the top of their feed, it says like how to donate or whatever. So it's easy and accessible for people on Instagram.
And before I forget, I want to say what's up to Blake Parado, who's here, giving the double shakas. It's so weird because usually it tells us like who's watching, or not who, but how many people are watching. And it's saying that nobody's watching, yet here's Blake saying hello. So thanks,
Hi, Blake.
Thanks either Blake or Ghost of Blake. I don't know, because it's like he's...
Oh my God, okay.
Or the John Cena of Blake, because we can't see him. Anyways, hi Blake. So yeah, again, the highlights can be a really great resource. So you know how we're saying like, oh, if you want to keep it where people can access it for forever, you put it in the feed. But if it's like a lot of posts about that one thing, then it's not worth going in your feed because it's going to spam people. You can put it still in the stories and then save it as a highlight so that it's still right here on top of your feed and people can look at it. And a great example is like thanking sponsors. Like then they're always going to be getting that shine right there. Man, this is great. The fact that Blake is here and waving at us makes me feel like maybe there's other people.
Maybe we're not alone.
Maybe we're not alone after all. But yeah, if you're watching this, thank you guys. And thank you, Blake, for being here. Any other thoughts or suggestions in regards to stories?
I think you should just try it. I think a lot of nonprofits are like they've never used it, so they don't want to do it because it's weird and they don't want to try. But just try posting something and try to have fun with it and see if your followers start interacting with you. Yeah.
And even if you don't feel comfortable posting anything yet, at least just like look through them. Yeah. So that you see what kind of things are out there. I'm telling you, I think most of the nonprofits that I talk to that have concerns or anxiety about how to better use social media, they admittedly don't really use social media very often themselves. And so that's why they're just like so intimidated by it. So there's a simple solution. You just start using it and you'll see it's a lot easier to understand once you start doing it. So if you guys have any questions feel free to just throw them in the comment section here, or you can email us at info@popcm.me.
You just did that out of nowhere.
I said it slowly in hopes that you would get the hint.
I was looking at your closet. You have so many hats.
So then whose fault is it, right? I'm just checking. So yeah, just email us here if you want to email us instead of leaving a public comment in the comment section. And then of course, if you want to like jump on our social medias and see what we showed you, you can find us at Pop Creative Media on the socials, or our personal ones. I don't know if you want to share yours. I'll share mine. The Nolan Hong, THE Nolan Hong. My Nolan Hong Media one doesn't have much stuff that we're talking about, so I wouldn't send you there.
Oh, like just for examples and stuff.
Right. But man, it is getting hot in
I
here.
know. Why is it so hot? I thought the AC was on.
It is, but I'm guessing that the sun is out, so the AC should be on higher.
Oh.
So when we first started, the sun was not blazing hot, but now we are hot boxing it in here, and it is uncomfortable. And to make it worse, I'm wearing this god awful shirt, so it's just a hot mess all around. But with that being said, thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back here next week, probably no, I don't think we're gonna be here Tuesday.
What's happening?
I think we have something. I think we have to take the kids to their class.
Oh, so Thursday maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like super hot. Let's go.
Okay, so we'll be back next week someday, and we'll see you then. Okay, bye.
Bye.